Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 25th of May. So let's get on and look at the risk events coming up today. Well, there's not a great deal. We've got the prelim GDP, which is a second reading, second stab at the US data here. There's generally three: the advanced, the prelim, and the final, I think it's called. Where is it? Previous, actual, oh, come on, where are you? Three versions, advanced, yeah, and final. I did get it right, I wasn't going crazy. Anyway, expectations here for 1.1% increase is to continue. There's no shock, well, could be a shock around there. Any shocks around that, anything lower might see the dollar sell. Anything higher could see even more pressure put on the dollar in terms of strength, and possibly increase in interest rates. Okay, unemployment claims, I don't really watch those too much on a weekly basis. Why they paint them red, I'm not so sure, in terms of they're not that higher impact. And that's it really. GDP price index, I think that's a figure. If it was to come out much higher, would also is part of the GDP data release. If that come out particularly high, we could see a bit of volatility. Anyway, that's for 130. Pending home sales doesn't really have a great impact at the moment. There are some speakers today, just going across to this other system here. So there are a few. We've got some ECB speakers through this morning, through to about 12:15, and then from about up to 2:30 actually. But then we got some Fed speakers in the afternoon. Even got Bank of England speaker, but not until 5:30. So that's well out of the way. So that's the news and the possible risk. Let's look at the technicals. So it was a bit of a funny old day yesterday, but eventually carried on. The euro, it remains in this bearish trend. Suspected it's looking soft, and yesterday, anything that it did probably do is push up there sort of late morning into the early afternoon, pushed up there, but that didn't hold on too well, and it all caved in. But what for today? Well, we're already up into down to the S1, so there is the possibility later this morning we could run through into the S2. Or say this morning, some of the moves are quite slow at the moment, so there is that potential. It is looking soft from here. Okay, morning in. The pound, let's quickly run through this. Same situation in terms of it's in its downward trend, lower highs, lower lows. You did see this spike coming through here, but that was in the morning. Really, it tried its best, but just didn't really hold on to anything, and just again looking softish. Now it's in between things at the moment, so not neither hit the S1 or the pivot here. A run into the pivot with the trend that's there might give us an opportunity on the sell side, so we'll be watching that. Alternatively, a break of the S1, we'll be looking at the S2 because it hasn't hit the pivot yet. The US dollar yen, well, it continues pushing upwards, and the trend is solidly up here. Horribly choppy at times though intraday as we go through it. It wasn't actually quite so bad yesterday afternoon. There eventually started moving again, but this previous day and the morning yesterday was quite choppy. Just have a lot of patience with that. Aussie dollar, overall, it's broken its range now. I'm looking for a bit more of a retrace. I've got an alert set up there to see if we can play the lows if it comes back into that sort of area, and look for a continuation. Now the reason being is we got this range here. Generally when you get a range like this into a trend, we get at least the size of the range to the downside. So really just looking and waiting for that there. US dollar CAD has been a bit of a slow old one over the recent week or two. Did break out yesterday to the upside, where the dollar just showed flexed its muscles there, and we saw push up, only to move into another consolidation zone. At the moment, it's sort of most of the later afternoon just went sidewards. Untouched daily pivot at the moment, some divergence over the highs. Maybe we'll get a breakdown into that pivot. Again, watching on the trend wise, could be opportunities to get long off of that, or if not off that, if it goes through it a little bit, watch this quarterly pivot there that's running across. Quarterly pivot it's provided resistance largely. This time it might provide a bit of support. Okay, a couple of the cross pairs, euro yen, continue to push up. It's a funny old market it's been. It's quite choked at the moment and choppy. Not particularly liking it as a market at the moment. Some of the cross pairs that I do like is the euro Aussie at times. It's a bit cleaner. Did actually have a decent move up really yesterday. Most of it started pre-London. But actually pushed on further, not a great deal further, but still further. Again here, where we're looking like we're going to post a lower high, the pivot might come into play on here as well, in terms of the either support or if you're feeling brave, a target. Euro CAD, it's got a bit ugly over the last week or so. You can see now on the higher time frames here, bars side by side basically, so a bit ranging. You see it there on the 4 hourly as well, slightly on a slight incline, but it's pretty channely now. A break below the pivot here again. Well, the way things have been going, perhaps we'll get a move back down towards the prior lows here, if not there. I'm just sort of looking at the S1 below. So there's a few things to watch out for here this morning. Obviously CAD, I don't know why I've still got that highlighted. Yeah, well, I've got it highlighted because we took a trade out of it yesterday, but I'm also, we'll see what happens with this morning. A push back into the pivot there. Again, look into the trend of what's going on here. It's been moving down pretty solidly as you go up the time frames here. It's in a solid down move, down direction, I should say. Aussie dollar I was looking for yesterday, but it's this morning it's popped. So this morning it did pop back up there yesterday. It's almost all in one go, wasn't it? At 3 o'clock in the morning. That was on the news, the New Zealand dollar news. Yes, I was waiting. It's right. Remind myself what I was looking for. I was looking for a breakdown here. Why the Aussie is quite so strong, or moved so much better than the New Zealand dollar is a bit questionable. But haven't seen the breakdown yet, so it's something that might appear. But for now, leave the alert there. If it continues going up, it goes without me. Right, I shall leave that off now. Let's go and have a look at some other markets. Then we're going to have a look at gold to start off with. So just looking more higher view, same sort of consolidation, a bit like the Canadian dollar in effect. Here, still sliding off in its range. Actually, it's right at the bottom of its range, though, where it's sitting at the moment. A move back towards its daily pivot is a possibility, in that I mean, it's a reasonable probability it could happen. If it does, it's just whether it to see if it can give a short away from that, but it's in this range. Maybe it will break it. We'll see how things develop today. Oil, just go for the Western Texas. It doesn't really make a lot of difference between these. So Western Texas yesterday just pitched up a little bit there. At the moment it's just slowing down in terms of its range. The trend, we're not seeing a great deal of trend, slightly to the upside as you come through the patterns here, high lows, high highs running through that. So we'll see. It's not a big mover, he says, although there was quite some volatility yesterday evening into it. But the general trend is to the upside there. Might give something later. Okay, equity markets, well, these are a bit mixed this morning as I look at them. No surprise to see CSI 300 continue its path to downside. It is now down into a quarterly S1, so into its quarterly pivot. We'll see if that gives some support. They can be quite powerful, these pivots. So see if it gives a bit of a bounce tomorrow. The Nikkei, well, it looks like it's had it. It's come back to the top side of its R2 pivot, and well, still looks bullish. The Nifty 50 now, it's just slowing down here. It's really not. It's lost the momentum it had. Maybe that this is a top here. Not that I want to be shorting tops. If it starts breaking the lows down here, then and that 34 moving average by the time it gets there, if it starts breaking that area, well, perhaps we've got a bigger correction coming in here. Still got the untouched monthly pivot below. Aussie 200 selling off the small, say this morning through the Asian session there, sold off. It's looking a bit more like it's in some sort of trend intraday now, and certainly on the dailies we've just seen that beginning. It does look weak from where it's sitting at this stage. S&Ps, well, yesterday managed to hammer out something, but then it's looking okay at the moment, but largely in this range, hasn't moved too far at all. The Dow was down, is still looking the weakest. Dow Jones is still yesterday breaking below some previous lows there, confirming further lower highs, looking soft. The Nasdaq, which has been the darling, it remained a darling yesterday, catching a bit of a bounce there in the end. Nvidia, I think, well, I was just reading through the news earlier on, and Nvidia put out some decent projections, and that's seen quite a move there. Right, let's look at the switch markets here. Just have a quick look at the DAX this morning. So the DAX sitting back onto its monthly pivot again yesterday, and well, not looking the strongest at this second in terms of the shorter time frame here. Certainly the hourly time frame. Again, maybe we'll see what happens if it runs into its daily pivot here. So we've got a few markets like that. The only thing is, when it hits it, it will have put a higher low in, so I'd be a bit wary on that one, and maybe wait for the lows to be broken as opposed to trying to be clever and selling into the pivot. Right, that's it. That's it for today, guys. I'm going to wish you a great day's trading there on YouTube, and I'll catch you guys in the room in a second.